Hello, everybody. Welcome to the first trigonometry lesson of the school year. So we're going to start right off today with the basics of trigonometry. A lot of what you see at the beginning of this course is going to be review of courses that you've seen in the past, like from your geometry class or your integrated math classes. And we're going to start out by doing a lot of those basic ideas so that we can work then towards the trigonometry ideas, which come into the course later. So at this time, you want to get yourself a notebook, something to write with, and you're going to want to take notes on these ideas. You don't have to write down every single thing that I write. I'm going to start off with things like line and segment and ray. Those you probably know you don't have to write them down. But when I start drawing the example problems, I'm going to draw some examples where we talk about different types of angles and how to solve those angles. You definitely want to put those into your notebook. All right, now the beauty of having this recorded is that you can stop it, you can pause it, you can rewind it, and go back and look at anything as needed. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. So we're starting off with our first basic. Again, the basics, you've probably seen this before. So I'm going to draw this out. And hopefully, looking at that, we can label this however you want. Hopefully you all know that that is a line. Now, from the line, we can, a lot of different ideas come about. So you can take a part of a line. So for example, let's just say I want to look at this A and B here. That, of course, is known as a line segment. And you can actually name these. So this first one, you could call it line AB. You could call it line BA, whichever order that you want. Same thing goes with the segment. You can call that segment AB. You could call it segment BA. As long as you're going in the order, either order is okay. The next thing that we're going to be talking about is one of the things that we're going to be working with a lot in trigonometry. Take another part of a line. This time I'm going to start with an endpoint. Let me use a different letter this time. How about I call it C? And I'm going to arrow in one way or the other. So let's say that I arrow left, I could arrow right. I'm just going to arrow to the right. Now, usually when you are talking about this item here, I have to assign it another letter. So I could say A through Z, whatever, it doesn't matter. Just going to call it CA. This is known as a ray. And in order to name a ray, unlike the line and the segment, you have to go in the order where you started with that original point. So this end point is C, so this would be ray CA. So hopefully some of this stuff is coming back to you. Okay, now the whole reason that we're talking about these different lines, segments, rays, etc., is because the last thing that we're going to be looking at is probably the most important idea in trigonometry. You can start with a ray. And then what you want to do is you want to draw a second ray with the endpoints touching. You can draw it however you want, down, over, doesn't matter. I'm just going to draw it like this. Okay, now this is important because this is known as your angle. One other quick thing that I want to mention before we go on is when you are writing notes, it's always a great idea to go ahead and title your notes. So this would be the title of the beginning of your notebook, and you want to probably put the date down. So go ahead and put today's date, fill that in up there. That way when you're looking back at your notes, you can kind of get an idea of when you took the note, what chapter you're looking at. So this would be chapter 1, section 1, the very beginning, and then you could just put the today's date in this line. So now we're going to start looking at how angles are measured, and angles are measured using degrees. So when we're taking a look at two rays with a common endpoint and we draw them into an angle, we have some angles that look like this one. So this is a special type of an angle. if you think about it for a minute, you'll probably come up with some names of it. For example, one of the names you may know is a right angle. This would definitely be something you probably want to jot in your notes. So draw a right angle. You want to give it a little marking. This is the, should look like a little square there. This is the marking for a right angle. Make it a little better. And you will see that when we talk about right angles, it's kind of a little square there. Sometimes the book assumes that it's a right angle, and you won't always see this marking. So just kind of keep that in mind. Another thing that you can probably say about this angle, and many of you are probably thinking of it, is that it's 90 degrees. So this is a right angle, it's 90 degrees, and it's something that we look at a lot. We start talking about right triangles, and we solve right triangles, so we do use this special angle a lot. The next special angle that we deal with a lot in trigonometry is this angle right here. Okay, now even though this looks like a line, which it really is just a line, it has a special name. If you took this 90-degree angle up here and you drew a second one, you would see that your 90 plus your 90 actually adds up to this line, which is 180 degrees. So this is a 180-degree straight angle. And again, I would jot this one down in the notes. If you need to pause the recording to do so, go ahead. Now, the next thing that we're going to look at is another important idea. This is one of those things where every year that I go over this stuff, people get confused. Okay, there's a couple of key things here. And again, I would jot this down in your notes. If the sum of the measures of two positive angles is 90 degrees. So what does that mean? You know, just regular English. It just means if you have two angles and they add up to 90, then they are known as complementary angles. Now, that doesn't mean they're saying nice things to each other. That means they add up to 90 degrees. And if you say that you've got one angle and you find the other angle, then those two angles are complements of each other. So let's take a look at an example. So I'm going to start off by drawing a 90-degree angle here. And I'm just going to draw some angles in here. It doesn't matter how you split it up. There's no right or wrong way to do this. I'm just going to draw two angles. So I'll go like this. All right, now let's say that this one is 7x. This is how your book notes it, degrees. And let's say that this one's smaller, so maybe it's only 2x degrees. So those are angles that are complements of each other. Even though you don't know what the angles are yet, they are complementary angles. The other important idea when we're talking about angle sums will be the supplementary angles. Okay, when we have two angles that add up to 180 degrees, they are supplementary, and their angles are known as supplements. So just like I drew that example above, you could draw a line, and you could draw some angles in here, however you want. You could draw it over here or whatever. And these angles have whatever measurement you want. So let's say this one is, I don't know, 12x plus 3 degrees, and maybe this one is 4x degrees. Okay, I just made those up, just showing you that there are two separate angles. If you were to calculate these values and find these two angles, they would add up to 180. So that's what we're going to do next. We're going to actually calculate some of these angles. So your assignment is going to start off with you finding complements and supplements of given angles. So in this first example, we're going to be finding the complement. Complements, as you know from our prior example, add up to 90 degrees. So if we need to find the complement of something that's 40, all you have to do is take 90 minus 40. Again, I highly recommend you jotting these examples in your notebook. It will be good when you have them later to refer to them. Okay, so 90 minus 40 is 50. If you have trouble calculating some of these angles, please use, if you don't have your own calculator, Desmos scientific calculator. Now, to get to Desmos scientific calculator, all I did was I went to Google and I simply typed in these 3 words, Desmos scientific calculator, and this pops up. So you could do the 90. Notice it's coming up over here on the side. See on the side here? You could do the 90 minus 40 and then hit answer, and you'll see that on this, oh, I guess I need to hit equals 90. Okay, okay, I retyped it in 90 minus 40, and you can see that if you need to use this as a calculator, it just equals 50. So I typed in the 90 minus 40, and then I hit enter on my keyboard. Instead of pressing this answer, I don't know why it didn't work. So give it a try, see what you get there. Okay, let's try the next one. So now we're going to do the same thing. And again, what we're trying to do here is find the complement. So 90 minus 35 degrees. You can either use your calculator, you can use Desmos. So 90 minus 35 is 55 degrees. Notice how I'm circling my answers as I go. That will make it much easier when you are checking your assignments. Okay, the next one is 25, so go ahead and try that one. And hopefully you got 65 degrees. So this next section here is all about the supplement. And if you remember from our prior discussion, the supplement adds up to 180 degrees. So when I'm working through this section, I'm going to take 180 degrees minus the 55 degrees. Okay, so again, you can use a calculator, you can subtract it in your brain. And I got 125 degrees. Okay, the next one is going to be 40. And again, I'm going to be going through these rather quickly if you're watching this video all in one straight through viewing. So feel free to pause it as needed as you're jotting the examples down. Okay, hopefully you got 140. And last but not least, try this last one here, 125. Okay, and hopefully if you got this one right, you got 55 degrees. Okay, now we're going to take a look at some angles where we're actually finding the angle measure with a diagram. So I recommend pausing the video so that you can draw out the diagram before we proceed to solve. All right, so let's go ahead and solve this. First of all, you have to decide, is this a complementary set of angles or supplementary? So if you notice, this is a right angle. You can assume it's a right angle. In the book, it won't always have the little mark, but feel free to add that mark in if you desire. Okay, what's special about a complementary angle? Well, it adds up to 90 degrees. So what we do is we take each marked angle, 2x is the first one, the second one is 3x, and we add those two angles together. So if you have two angles add up to 90 degrees, these are complementary. This is the thing that people get mixed up on the first quiz. Complements 90, supplements 180. These are going to add up to 90 degrees. Look at them, it's a right angle. So now this is just solving a basic algebra problem. So add up your 2x and your 3x and solve. And again, if you need to, you can just click back and forth to Desmos. If you have your computer open, you can do the 90 divided by the 5 and hit enter. And you can see that it equals 18. If you have your own calculator, that will be even better, just because you don't have to keep flipping the screen back and forth. But there's your answer, x equals 18. Or is it the answer? This question wasn't asking for the value of x, and this is where a lot of people get hung up. They say, oh, I've got it, I'm done. No. So to fully answer this question, what I need to do is take the 18 here that we just found, and I have to plug it in place of the x for each of these angles. So I'm going to be finding 2 times 18, and I'm going to find 3 times 18. Another option that you can use if you don't want to use decimals right now is you can just simply use a calculator on your phone. So 2 times 18 would give you 36. Okay, what that means is that this upper angle right here is 36 degrees. 3 times 18, when I multiplied it, I got 54. So that means this upper angle right here is 54. So 36 and 54 are complementary angles, and they are the measure of these two angles here. Okay, let's do one more example. This time we're going to look at a straight angle, 180-degree angle. So I have two angles. One of them is 7x and the other is 2x. And I need to find the value of each supplementary angle. So remember, complements are 90. That was the one above. Supplements are 180. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and solve the equation over here. So I'm just going to start by setting them up. The first angle is 7x. The second angle is 2x. Remember, what I'm doing here is I'm adding them together. And this is a straight angle, a line, and it's 180 degrees. Okay, so the first thing you want to do is combine your like terms. So 7 plus 2x is 9x. Okay, then you're going to solve the equation, so divide by 9. And you get x equals 20. Now remember, 20 is the value of x. So we still have to plug it in over here to find the value of each angle. So let's go ahead and do the 7 times the 20 for this angle. I don't know why my screen is writing funny all of a sudden. So that's 140 degrees. And over here, I'm going to do the 2 times the 20, and that's going to equal 40 degrees. Okay, so you have 140, 40. Now there is a way to simply check these to see if you're doing this correctly. When you add these two angles back up, 140 and 40, remember this is 40, those should add up to 180. And that's an easy way to check your work. If you were to come up here and you add the 54 and the 18, that adds up to, or I'm sorry, not 54 and 18, 54 and 36, that will add back up to 90 degrees. So that's an easy way to check. All right, we've got one more example, and then I'll give you the assignment for today. So this is our last example for today. If you need to pause, go ahead and pause and copy down the example. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, first of all, I have to decide if this is a complementary angle, which is 90, or supplementary. You can see it's a line, it's a straight angle, so it would be considered supplementary. So these two angles will add up to 180. Next thing I'm going to do is combine the like terms. So add up the 3x and the 5x, that would be your 8x. Add up your 5 and 15, so that's 20. And then set it equal to 180. And again, you're just doing equation solving here to solve. So the next thing you want to do, I just like to put up this line to separate left and right, is I want to get this 8x by itself. So I'm going to have to subtract 20. Hopefully this is coming back to you. You did a lot of this in previous math classes. So you have 8x equals 160. Next step, divide both sides by 8. Now, just like we saw in the last example, this does not mean you're done. At this point, you need to take this answer and you need to plug it back into the angle above. Okay, so up here I have the 3x plus 5. So this one would be the 3x plus 5, and I'm going to plug in the 20 in place of the x. So 3 times 20 plus 5. And then in the other one, again, I'm going to use the 20. 5 times 20 plus 15. So go ahead and multiply those out. You can use your brain, you can use a calculator. That would be 60 plus 5 is 65. Okay, do the same thing over here. 5 times 20 would be 100. 100 plus 15 is 115. Now, to verify that these two answers are correct, you can take the 65 plus the 115, and you'll see that you get 180 degrees, which is the measure of the straight line. Okay, so that's going to be what you're going to be working on for today's assignment. Remember, go back to the recording if needed, replay it, rewatch it, check out anything that you don't understand, and you will see the assignment on the next page. And I will also post it up on Google Classroom.